Hmm. Well, this is interesting. It says ban on child marriage is deemed un-Islamic by Pakistan's religious leaders. Now, you're probably wondering, why is something like this un-Islamic? Where did they get the idea that child marriage is okay? You don't think it has anything to do with Muhammad, do you?
Oh, wait, yeah, it definitely does. In Sahih al Bukhari 5133, it was narrated Aisha that the Prophet wrote the marriage contract with her when she was 6 years old, and he consummated his marriage when she was 9 years old. And then she remained with him for 9 years, i.e., till his death. So, this is why Muslims can't let go of child marriage, is because of their PDF prophet, who married a 6 year old and then consummated that marriage when she was 9 years old. Now, how in the world do Muslims justify this? Believe it or not, they've gotten so desperate to defend their PDF prophet that they will try to use the Bible to justify what he did by either saying the Bible never condemns it, or they will say the Bible is just okay with it because it never gives an age for marriage. So I'm here to finally put an end to this demonic attempt to misuse the Bible in order to justify Muslims' desperate attempt to make their PDF prophet not look like the creep he is. First off, in Psalm 84:2, it says, "Rescue the weak and the needy, deliver them from the hand of the wicked." So we have an obligation to protect the weak and the needy, and there is no one more weak, needy, and vulnerable than children, so we should protect them from the wicked people who would want to take advantage of them through trying to marry and exploit them sexually, especially little girls. Young girls are not able to comprehend and understand the concept of marriage and sex, and so there is no way they could possibly consent to something like that, which is even more of a reason to protect them from those who would wish to take advantage of them. We also see verses like Leviticus 19:18 that say, "You shall love your neighbor as yourself." In Luke 6:31, it says, "As you wish that others would do to you, do so to them." So, since we know that child marriage can have damaging effects on children both physically and mentally, we should not be doing that to children since we wouldn't want that done to ourselves. And in an article titled Overlooked and Unaddressed, a narrative review of mental health consequences of child marriages from PLOS Global Public Health, it says the study demonstrated that while early marriage has extreme mental, social, and physical outcomes, victims of sexual abuse showed higher rates of psychiatric disorders and more severe psychiatric symptoms. In Ethiopia and Niger, psychological well being, measured using the Psychological General Well Being Index, was negatively associated with marriage before 15 years. And it also says depression, anxiety, suicidal thoughts, and attempts as well as emotional distress caused by poverty, IPV, isolation, challenges in childbirth, self esteem, and loss of autonomy, were associated with child marriage in the literature. And anyone with two eyes and half a brain can see that children, especially young girls, are not physically ready or capable to engage in sexual activity without major harm being done. So, with all that, if child marriage is this damaging to children, and if we were to love them as ourselves, then we would never and should never put someone through that. Also, the Bible is clear that there is an age in which someone should get married, which we see in the biblical languages where the Greek word parthenos and the Hebrew word alma are used in Isaiah 7:14 for the word virgin in the verse, and they both mean a woman of marriageable age. So clearly, the Bible is aware of an age that is acceptable for marriage. And even in Ezekiel 16:8, it says, the age for love. So someone has to be at an age when they can understand and be ready for love and marriage, not only mentally, but physically as well. So then the question is, what is a good age for someone to get married to the point where they aren't vulnerable and can consent to and comprehend love and be mentally and physically ready for marriage? Typically, women finish Tanner stage 5, which is the end of puberty, around ages 15 to 17. And at this point, their body and hip development is almost fully finished, as well as their frontal lobe is more fully developed, which means they are capable of making better long-term decisions, like marriage and who they want to consummate with, and be capable of comprehending what the long-term effects of what a decision like that would be. So with that, if we are playing it safe and making sure that they are out of Tanner stage 5, I think 18 would be a safe age for a woman to even consider getting married. And this is where we get the age of marriage from, which is typically enforced in Western countries. It's not like we're picking some random arbitrary number. It's because we know what the effects of child marriage are and how damaging they are, and we don't want to subject children to that kind of harm. And we are protecting the weak from the wicked, as Psalm 82:4 says.
Now, this isn't a hard and fast rule. For example, if a 19-year-old wanted to marry a 17-year-old, I wouldn't say that this is immoral since it's close enough and they are close enough in age to the point where I know the older one isn't simply trying to exploit the younger one just because she's younger. But you know what definitely isn't right? A 51-year-old marrying a 6-year-old, which is exactly what Mohammed did. That definitely is not right and never will be right because he knew she was too young to consent to something like that and be able to know the effects of what she was doing, and he knew he was grooming her to make her make that decision. That is just utterly sick and one of many proofs on why Islam is false and a sick religion because Allah said Muhammad was of great moral character and an excellent pattern of conduct. Now, there is no way an all-good God would co-sign the actions of a PDF and say that a person like that is of excellent moral character and should be the model of morality. And I don't want to hear that what he did was part of their culture at the time and it was okay back then. If it's wrong now, it was wrong then. God's moral standard doesn't change with time and culture. Allah should have condemned Muhammad, but in fact he did the exact opposite. But what's funny is that Jesus called for someone like Muhammad to receive capital punishment for what he did. In Matthew chapter 18, verse 6, Jesus says, "But whoever causes one of these little ones who believe in me to sin, it would be better for him to have a great millstone fastened around his neck and to be drowned in the depth of the sea." So Jesus would have condemned Muhammad to be executed for causing Aisha to engage in sexual immorality because that is what a just God looks like. He condemns those who would groom and take advantage of little girls, not say that they are of excellent moral character. And I already know that if you haven't already, you will say in the comments that, well, Rebecca was 3 when she married Isaac. Don't worry, I already debunked that argument in a previous video, so please make sure you check that one out too. So Muslims, please stop using the Bible to protect your PDF prophet. It just won't work. And I also just want to say that if you have a God who says a PDF is a good guy, then you should probably stop following that God. So please, follow Jesus, who is the way, the truth, and the life, and repent and believe in him and leave the damaging PDF religion of Islam.